We're about to do Jedi, aren't we?
Let's just get through this.
So, SpongeBob Season 3. What can be said about it? It's another great season, and it's absolutely worth watching, because it's the last good season we got for a while. And while it contains some of the best of the show, it also contains a lot of the weaker stuff from the classic era. And despite that there isn't much middle-of-the-road or bad stuff compared to the good, I think I know why there's a lot of stuff sprinkled in here that longtime fans remember for the worse. Quite a few lesser episodes this season start to pile up toward the end. About 23 of the 37 segments this season aired in 2002, but Steven Hillenburg stopped making new episodes in 2002 to work on the movie, which would later release in 2004. I do think this paid off, as the movie was an animated spectacle and the perfect conclusion to the series. But when you're working on a big project, the amount of attention you can pay to small individual episodes is very little. Trust me, I know from experience. And while I recognize that animation takes a long dang time, and that these episodes were most likely produced before the movie, they were probably trying to balance the show with the movie at least a little bit. I do agree that there were a few slightly worse episodes here and there, but when this season gets good, we get some really high highs. The effort and wit that permeated the series up to this point is still right there, and I would argue it's as present as ever. There are tons of adventures this season that all pop into my heart like the bubbles that SpongeBob blows in his off time. I could talk about the episodes I love this season, but this video will be over before I got halfway through. However, will I talk about how much I love this season? Oh, that way. You know, all things considered, I should know this by now. If you watched my previous two seasonal reviews, or anyone who's done this reviewing style, you know how these go. Every episode is reviewed in 10 words or less, given a rating from 1 to 10, 1 being horrible and 10 being practically perfect, and we'll cap it off with a top 3 of the season, wherein I will review my 3 favorite episodes in full. And maybe if I feel like it, I'll give you a surprise. Let's see who's number 1 as we get into every episode of SpongeBob SquarePants Season 3 reviewed in 10 words or less. Let's sell it! Life swap. I have so many questions. Magic Conch, is this episode funny? Yes, it is. Why don't we see seahorses more often in this show? You like this episode, don't you, Squidward? This one kicks butt. Holy crap, that was actually dark. The title is actually genius. Meh, more like weh. Why isn't Mrs. Puff known as a wanted criminal? Basically just Idiot Box but with snowballs. Still love it. This episode isn't number 1, but it's pretty dang close. Well, I got what I came here for. Squidward pushed SpongeBob to his limit? If eating cereal dry is tough, am I allowed in? Why did Squidward feel the need to switch everyone's roles? Captchas be like, this is essentially just caring for a baby bird. As exciting as watching paint dry ever gets. Okay, where do I sign up for the job? The quality content isn't until 9/17. Hope that chocolate doesn't have coconut hidden in the middle. There really just isn't much to dislike here. 25. Why am I a sucker for family fishing trip episodes? Boring, a little too simple, and doesn't warrant a special. Why would I want to watch this? Women's underwear? Ban this episode for that alone! How could Krabs not tell where he was for hours? You can live in fear if you want this. Krabs is a jerk, but good metaphor for Disney World. Let's gather around the campfire and watch this great episode. SpongeBob gets literal imposter syndrome. One of Plankton's best episodes. Well, that was overhyped. Don't you love when the synopsis is in the title? And just like that, SpongeBob's golden era ends okayly. And that was all of them. Now, this is where I'd talk about the good and bad episodes of the season in a top and bottom 3 list, examining the wide range of episode qualities this season. If there was one! You know what we're gonna do if you saw the last 2 videos. I'd really have to stretch for anything bad to discuss in the world of classic SpongeBob. There were 2 particularly bad episodes this season I disliked, those being Party Pooper Pants and The Great Snail Race. Technically, I could make a bottom 3 because there were a couple mediocre episodes that contend for a number 3 worst spot, but all I'm going to say about the 2 bad episodes is that, similarly to how the few bad episodes in Season 2 all happen to involve Patrick being a jerk to SpongeBob, this season's bad episodes both happen to be about SpongeBob being an out-of-character control freak, and I just don't get why that would be enjoyable. But that out of the way, I honestly don't want to do a bottom 3 for this season, so let's get to the best up this season has to offer. Number 3 best, Wet Painters. One of the best things about these first 3 seasons that quite honestly shaped me as a person for the better is how they took simple concepts like art classes and delivering pizzas, but exacerbated them to a Texas T. But painting walls? How in the butt could you make that so entertaining? Sponge and Pat are painting the interior house of Mr. Krabs, who's like a scary father to them. Okay, what else you got? That a joke. Alright, what's at stake for the protest? Their butts. Okay, I'm sold. This is a very unpredictable story. I mean, it's 2 guys painting some walls. What should I see coming? Well, they can't get a drop of paint onto any paintings, photos, frames, or anything on the walls. How's that for a plot? I never know what's going to happen next, because Spongy and Pat are just that gullible that whatever gets painted besides the wall will cost them their rear ends hung in Krabs' home office. And this is one of those times where I'm sweating along with the characters, where I care about them so much that I fear the worst case scenario as much as they do. Patrick's paint bubble popping and splattering everywhere but the frame stuff on Krabs' wall is so satisfying and nerve-wracking at the same time. Like, you think it'll end in disaster and it still pops, but you're relieved that it didn't go anywhere it wasn't supposed to. It's a lot all at once. The bulk of it all, as it is with a lot of SpongeBob at its best, is the comedy. The humor just feels in sync with the story itself. Every time a joke pops in, it feels like it was supposed to. From "we have technology" to "I'm running out of time cards" to the aforementioned bubble of paint. Not to mention, some nice and expressive over-exaggerated visuals that inadvertently foreshadowed the modern seasons. It was also pleasant to see some use of nonverbal gag in this episode. There is such a thing as too many wacky faces, but it very much displays that this show loves that it's animated. It has a ton of fun with it, even way back before it was 60% of every episode. Top it off with a bit of crusty karma for Krabs at the end, and you have an episode that paints a powerful image for this show and colors me impressed. Number 2 best, Krusty Krab training video. As a young teen looking to get his first job sometime soon, this episode makes work look like a lot of fun. I can already tell that this is just like an actual training video for baby's first job, and this thing is a total laugh fest, but this episode is a bold, subversive risk that totally paid off. The entire episode has a narrator sprinkled throughout. Said narrator interacts with the characters from time to time and acknowledges what happens on screen. Thus, we as an audience see this episode almost entirely in the third person. It's played almost entirely straight. Even this episode title card isn't normal. Just white text on a black screen, implying that this just straight up is the video that Mr. Krabs shows to new employees. And then, oh my god, the little jump cuts to still images of various parts of the restaurant accompanied by dramatic music stings, for then the guy begins narrating by giving us a bit of lore about the Krusty Krab. I love that we get a little story behind this iconic Bikini Bottom landmark. Unfortunately, past or present, SpongeBob can't really shake up its status quo. Before Stephen Hillenburg passed away, he asked for a few things. Those being, Pearl's mother can't be revealed, SpongeBob can't get his license, and no spin-offs or crossovers. Now it's complicated, though. But my point is, nowadays the crew probably couldn't make stuff up about the Krusty Krab. Reminder that this series is laced with bad continuity, even the early seasons. What this episode says about the crab, that being that it was formerly a retirement home that Mr. K eventually bought out, hasn't really been acknowledged since this episode. If anything, it's been retconned. But this was interesting and does make sense. I could go on about the jokes, but I already have numerous times in these videos without reviewing episodes. This particular time, though, the jokes speak for themselves. The ceiling talking to Patrick, the hoopla fish, no employee wants to be a Squidward, etc. There isn't really a plot to this episode. It's pretty much just an announcer guy talking about the Krusty Krab and breaking the fourth wall every minute or so. And simply put, it's a ton of fun. This isn't a story about forgetting how to tie your shoes or competing for a prestigious title. It's just the orientation video for that deli you worked at a few summers ago. The only difference being you watch it for entertainment. The show hadn't really done something like this before, and I don't know that it really has since. I'm already a fan of when an episode's story is told from the third person like this, but this episode specifically is documented proof that risks and experimentation are a recipe for success. I wish the Krusty Krab was real, because if it had this training video, I would apply for a job there immediately. And the number 1 best episode of SpongeBob SquarePants Season 3 is Chocolate with Nuts. This episode is sweet as chocolate and absolutely nuts in all the best ways. For starters, the comedy. What's the matter, man? Sorry, just digging to review hell. You seem tired. I am. I mean, this episode is funny, creative, the characters are likable, every joke either serves a purpose to the plot or is extremely memorably funny. It makes the best of a simple plot. What can I say that I haven't already said about other episodes I reviewed? I don't have time for this, and I don't want to suddenly seem exhausted when I had a passion for this show a couple minutes ago, and now I look like I'm sick of this. If I get bored making this, they get bored watching it. I love these episodes. Shouldn't I be having more fun? Do you want me to do the talking for you? That won't help. I'm you. Well, regardless, I can't help but feel like you got your point across about how you feel, and said what you needed to about this episode. And the fact that you gave this a shorter review, that tells me that you're sacked out, not that you're being lazy. In fact, you subverted expectations by making this review a conversation between you and Abe. That was inventive. Buddy, if you need a break from this, you're only human. It was an accomplishment anyway that you held out for this long. Abe is proud of you, man. Aw, thanks, Abe. You're so nice to me. I'm you. Quit bragging, you entitled butthole. You know, Abe, you're a real jerk. Have fun reviewing the next 10 seasons. Chocolate with Nuts is my favorite episode of Season 3. I totally recommend you check it out. As Abe suggested, I'm gonna take a break from these videos after this one. Don't worry, I'll get around to the rest of SpongeBob. I'll cover Seasons 4 and 5 at the very least before the end of this year, and I won't stop uploading anytime soon, but this is it for now. Will I give you that treat I alluded to at the beginning? Oh god, I've come this far, I can't stop! And I'm recording this before the actual video, because I otherwise won't have the energy. So, every classic SpongeBob episode ranked from worst to best. At the bottom, we have I'm with Stupid, Grandma's Kisses, The Great Snail Race, Party Pooper Pants, Dumped, I Was a Teenage Gary, Krabby Land, New Student Starfish, Fools in April, Ugh, Nature Pants, Boating School, The Sponge Who Could Fly, Pranks a Lot, I'm Your Biggest Fanatic, Reef Blower, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4, Bubble Buddy, Home Sweet Pineapple, Sandy's Rocket, No Free Rides, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2, Squeaky Boots, Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost, Rock Bottom, Sponge Guard on Duty, Plankton, Jellyfish Jam, Scaredy Pants, Suds, Hooky, Procrastination, Valentine's Day, Walking Small, Pre-Hibernation Week, My Pretty Seahorse, Doing Time, Tea at the Tree Dome, The Chaperone, Survival of the Idiots, Gary Takes a Bath, Clams, Wormy, Pressure, The Smoking Peanut, Born Again Crabs, Krusty Love, Life of Crime, Culture Shock, The Algae's Always Greener, Neptune Spatula, Karate Choppers, Your Shoes Untied, Welcome to the Chum Bucket, No Weenies Allowed, Sandy, SpongeBob, and the Worm, Crabborg, Missing Identity, Something Smells, The Bully, Sleepy Time, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Texas, The Paper, Imitation Crabs, I Had an Accident, Jellyfishing, Help Wanted, Bossy Boots, Squid's Day Off, Squid on Strike, Fun, Midlife Crustacean, Squirrel Jokes, Big Pink Loser, Rockabye Bivalve, Patty Hype, Plankton's Army, As Seen on TV, Club SpongeBob, Squilliam Returns, Ripped Pants, Graveyard Shift, SpongeBob Meets the Strangler, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, One Scrap's Trash, Just One Bite, Frankendoodle, Muscle Bob Buff Pants, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5, Pickles, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3, Jellyfish Hunter, The Fry Cook Games, Bubble Stand, The Secret Box, Idiot Box, Hall Monitor, Snowball Effect, SB129, Nasty Patty, Squidville, Dying for Pie, Shanghai, The Camping Episode, Opposite Day, Employee of the Month, Christmas Who, Can You Spare a Dime, ARG, Wet Painters, Sailor Mouth, Krusty Krab Training Video, Artist Unknown, Chocolate with Nuts, Band Geeks, and number 1, Pizza Delivery. So all there is on this list. The comments should be open to tell me your own opinions, and I'll see you guys in a little while. Thanks for watching, thank you for tuning into the journey so far, reminder that I'm not stopping here, just taking a break, and have a great rest of your day.